with these. Now, you may look at questions like this and completely freak out. That's okay. Let's practice them slowly. And the key to these is just doing step by step. Now, I would just like to remind you how to add and subtract fractions. I know you think it seems ridiculous having to go back through this, but trust me, we've all been there. So if I had like 5/12 minus 7 eighths. That'll do. What's the lowest common denominator between 12 and 8? Well, let's go through our 12 times tables until we get something 8 also goes into. We've got 12, 24, yeah, 8 goes into 24. So that was really easy. So 12 times 2 is 24. 5 times 2 minus 8 times 3 is 24. 7 times 3. We get 5 times 2 is 10 over 24 minus 21 over 24. Did not think this through. Negative 11 over 24. That negative hardly showed up. There we go. It's that easy. Okay, these, same principle. So, we've got 1 over 8 factorial minus 1 over 10 factorial. Now, 8 factorial actually already goes into 10 factorial. So I'm going to rewrite these as both products of 8 factorial. So that means 1 over 8 factorial, I'm not going to change, but 1 over 10 factorial is the same as 10 times 9 times 8 factorial, isn't it? We've done a lot of that before. A lot. We've done a few examples of that before. So that means 10 times 9 times 8 factorial is my lowest common denominator. Which means my 1 over 8 factorial, I'm going to times it by 10 and 9. And this one's already right. Which means I've got 10 times 9. 1 times 10 times 9 is 90. Over 10 times 9 times 8 factorial minus 1 over 10 times 9 times 8 factorial, which means 90 minus 1 is 89. 10 times 9 times 8 factorial, a much nicer way to write that is 10 factorial. Alternatively, you could have just remembered that 8 factorial, you're just going to end up multiplying it by 10 times 9. And left the other side as 10 factorial on the bottom. Same diff. Let's now have a look at a generalized question. 1 over n factorial plus 1 over n plus 1 factorial. Oof. Okay. So 1 over n factorial, come on, there we go, n factorial plus, oh wow, this is really struggling, 1 over n plus 1 factorial. I say it's struggling, you don't realise I'm writing these like half a second before they show up. This is going to be easier if I write both things as the smaller 1 factorial and then stuff times that. So I've got my 1 over n factorial, and I know that n plus 1 factorial is the same as n plus 1 times n factorial. And I don't need to write a times in there, it's implied. Which means that I need to times top and bottom of the left fraction by n plus 1. in order to get n factorial times n plus 1 on both sides. I don't know why I wrote that second one the other way around. Didn't need to. Which means on the top of my left-hand fraction, I've just got my n plus 1. And on this left-hand side, this fraction, actually no, I'll put them together in the next step. I've got my n to factorial times n plus 1 plus 1 over n factorial n plus 1, which means I can now put those top two lines together. N plus 1 is n plus 2 over, and the bottom lines are the same, n factorial times n plus 1. I'm going to write those the other way around, because I recognise that n plus 1 factorial, n plus 1 times n factorial is the same as, like, if we had 5 times 4 factorial, well, 5 times 4 factorial is the same as 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. It's the same as 5 factorial. So n plus 1 times n factorial is the same as n plus 1 factorial. That's a really, really useful fact. Get used to it, use it. N plus 2 over n plus 1 factorial. And that's something you will come to recognize those whenever they happen in the course of this chapter. Let's have a look at the actual questions from this chapter. I don't want you to do question 1 yet. You can do that last, but I don't want you to do that yet. Question 2, I would like you to do it. If you get stuck, write them out. Like 12 factorial is 12 times 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 3 times 3 times 2 times 1, 9 times 8 times 3 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 3. It helps if you know your numbers. Factorial button on your calculator, useful. We're skipping question 4 because we haven't done calculus yet. That's for the end of the year. That's going to be a treat. Unrolling these, well, n factorial is the same as n times n take 1 factorial. So we're going to have n times n take 1 factorial over n take 1 factorial. We're going to simplify them by cancelling them out. Again, just write these out. This is actually a really good question to do. These ones are going to be hard. Stick with it, write them out, like unroll them if you need to. Question 8 we're not doing. Question 9, I only want you to do 9a. Which it's going to be easier to start from the right-hand side and make it look like the left than left to make it look like the right. So for example, k plus 1 factorial take k factorial. Well, k plus 1 factorial is the same as k plus 1 times k factorial. So we've got k plus 1 times k factorial, take k factorial, take the k factorial out as the highest common factor. You're going to end up with k factorial outside of k plus 1, take 1. Anyway, you'll see. 11, I don't want you to do at all. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. 12, A and B, they're going to be good. 13, interesting. I want to see how you guys go without me helping you. Okay, that's the last video for Chapter 14, Exercise A. Enjoy.